back to another phenomenal edition of the Sports Take Podcast. My name is Johnny Redmond, and today we have a little bit of a different cast. As always, we have Nick Odell. How are you doing today, Nick?
Good. How about you, Johnny? It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks, but we're back. We're back, baby.
Yes, we are. We do want to apologize for the technical difficulties last week, but everything's working now, so here we are. Also joining us from last week and joining us again this week is Jeff Leclerc. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Doing well, guys. How you all doing?
Doing well. Thank you very much for asking. We're happy to have you on the show once again, now that it's working.
Absolutely.
This time.
Yeah, for sure.
And filling in for Mr. Joe Dentile, we have Mr. Joseph Arvison. How are you doing today, Joe?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. I love the jersey, by the way.
Represent.
All right. So we want to start off this show by doing an interesting fact of the day. So our interesting fact of the day is that MLB umpires are required to wear black underwear on the job. Do you guys know why that is?
I'm afraid to find out.
It's actually a pretty logical
Why?
reason if you think about it. They are required to wear black underwear on the job just in case their pants split.
That makes sense.
So-
Not bad.
Makes
Not
sense.
bad idea.
Yeah.
Still weird though.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't need to know that, but now it makes sense that I do.
Makes sense. I guess in that way it does make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just hope it matches with the pants. Because if you have two different shades of black, then it's just,
Yeah, that's always important.
yeah.
Depends how many times you wash them.
That's true. Oh,
That too.
that's true. So that was our interesting fact of the day. Now I want to move it over to Mr. Nick Odell to do our trivia question of the day. Take it away, Nick.
All right. So today, guys, another baseball question. But since we are a podcast, I figure we do this type of question. So here's the question. On this day in 1921, the first baseball game ever broadcasted on radio happened today. Which two teams were featured in this game? Was it A, the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees? B, the St. Louis Cardinals and Chicago Cubs? C, the Philadelphia Phillies and the Pittsburgh Pirates? Or D, the New York Mets and the Boston Braves? Johnny, we'll start with you with your guess. What are you leaning towards?
I feel like the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs would be a really, really good matchup to have for the first ever radio broadcast. So I'm going to go with B.
All right, Jeff.
I don't know. I think Sox, Yankees, and Cubs, Cardinals are like the two biggest rivalries in baseball. I think those are two kind of obvious answers, but Phillies and Pirates have been around forever too, so I'll pick C.
Decent guess. How about you, Joe Arvison?
So I went to Chicago, and I'm pretty sure I ate at his restaurant. Harry Carey, like one of the first original announcers. So I'm going to go with the Cubs.
Cubs Cardinals, okay. Well, those are all excellent guesses, but we have to wait until the end of the show to find out. But for
I'll
now,
find out now.
huh? What was that, Jeff?
I said, I'll find out now. What the heck, Nick?
No, we got to find out, but at the end of the show. So for now, all you viewers who are tuning in right now, comment below your answer, and we'll see if you're right at the end of the show. Over to you, Johnny.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. And with that said, I think it's time to go ahead and move to our roundtable discussions. So first up this week, the NBA is back, guys.
Yay.
And with that, the Celtics lost their first game against the Bucks, which was to be expected. The Bucks are really good. and then they beat the Blazers. So I want to know, do you guys have any takeaways from this? Joe, we'll go ahead and start with you.
I think the biggest thing is the fact that they lost the Heat. I think that was last night. That's a team right below them for playoff seeding. They're still going to make the playoffs, but that game to the Heat, I think they play them one more time at the end of the year. Those will really determine the seeding spots. But I mean, they've looked all right. They've looked decent. They're still just getting their feet under them like every other NBA team right now.
With the way that the Celtics are playing, do you think they have a better chance of moving up or moving down?
I think they're going to move down a spot. I think the Heat are going to overtake them.
Yeah, the Heat are playing pretty well so far. But
Yep.
Jeff, I want to hear what you think.
I mean, it's sort of. I mean, I'm very happy basketball's back and the Celtics are back. It's great, and they had a pretty tough schedule with the Bucks, Blazers, and the Heat all in a row, and now they play the Nets tonight. But all those games, like we were in it. They were in it until the very end, especially the Bucks game when Giannis punched Daniel Tyson in the stomach and didn't get a foul call and should have fouled out. That didn't happen. Jason Tatum going 2 for 18, that was really concerning because everyone thought going into the bubble, Jason Tatum was the guy for the Celtics. It's not Kemba, it's not Gordon Hayward, not Jaylen Brown. This is Jason Tatum's team. And it looked like how he was playing last year, like taking all these weird shots and like not driving the rim and not out muscling everybody and not making these threes. So I was like, what the heck's going on? But he bounced back in the Blazers game, which is great. Jaylen Brown looked really good. Gordon Hayward solid, but the bench worries me, especially with Kemba not being fully 100% healthy. And yeah, I don't want to see Brad Wanamaker in crunch time. I don't know about anyone else. It worries me. We don't have that much depth outside of Marcus Smart, sixth man, who should be a defensive player of the year. And yes, he had a bad game against Miami, who didn't have Jimmy Butler, which also kind of worries me. But we need to improve our defense when with Marcus Smart off the floor. And I think we'll bounce back. We adjust better as the season goes on and gets better. But I'm not sure if we're going to be able to move up. Maybe stay the 3 seed, maybe the 4 seed, because I think Milwaukee and Toronto are just that good. They're leagues above everybody. They're definitely the 2 favorites to come out of the East. But I think we can hang right there with them because with the bubble, there's so many upsets. The Nets upset the Bucks. We had so many games go down to the final buzzer, and it's been really fun. The Suns beat the Clippers, and I was listening to a podcast, and they described it like it's professional March Madness. This is what it feels like. At games all day, every day. You don't know what to expect. That's all these – and it's really high-quality stuff, and you got to love it.
So I do want to make a couple of points, and I want to ask you a couple of follow-up questions on Jason Tatum before we go ahead and move to Nick.
Yep.
If you guys watched the Bucks game, the Celtics did not play well at all that first half. I mean, it was only really in the second half that they had to catch up from so far, and that they finally got within 10 points, right? I mean, the Blazers game was close, and the Heat game was close. I mean, and I'm happy the Celtics were able to figure it out at the end, but it almost seemed like too little too late. And a large part of that is because of Jason Tatum. One of my questions for you, Jeff, is do you believe that Jason Tatum will figure it out as the season progresses and in time for the playoffs?
I hopefully think so. This is kind of how the season started for him because everyone was talking about how the Celtics didn't really make moves this past offseason in 2019 and going into this year, and what does this mean? And friend of the show, Pete Gilbert, we always talk Celtics when we're together and stuff, and we said because of this offseason, said they are banking on Tatum and Jaylen Brown to be mega stars for this team this year. And Tatum, at first, we're like, really? Like, it was kind of how he played that Friday. That's how he played, like October, November, early December. And then right around Christmas time, it's like a light switch went off. And he's looked like this complete scorer, driving the rim. He was an all-star. And he got better and better and better as things went along. And then when the pause happened, it was like, well, can he keep that up or do you think he's going to go back? But the Blazers game definitely impressed me. going at Lillard and CJ McCollum and Carmelo Anthony, who's still got it from what I've seen in the bubble. But I like to think going to the playoffs, it'll be kind of getting back in the rhythm and be better for the team. But
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. It actually brings up my follow-up question. Do you believe Jason Tatum's successes or failures will be conducive to the Celtics' successes or failures? Because, like you said, a lot of people think that this is Jason Tatum's team, not Kemba's, not Jaylen Brown's. This is Jason Tatum's team. So I want to know what your thoughts are on that.
not as a whole. I still think that's what I like about the Celtics team. It's a collective unit, even though Tatum's kind of the focal point of the offense, especially. But there'll be one game like the Blazers game. It was him. Jaylen Brown had a great game. The Heat game, Gordon Hayward had a really great game. The Bucks game, Marcus Smart was fantastic. So everyone takes turns to try to do that. But I think Tatum probably will get to that in the playoffs, like kind of take the most responsibility, or between him and Kemba for sure, especially on the offensive front. I don't know if Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward is really going to be at the forefront for the team in terms of everything. But that's why I kind of like the Celtics. It's a total team effort. And you very rarely see that from other teams throughout the NBA. It's usually one, maybe two guys. The only team I can think of that's kind of like that are the Raptors, where it's a total team effort from everybody. And they just won the title last year, and they could probably do it again this year.
Absolutely. I mean, the Celtics are definitely one of the most deep teams in the NBA. I agree. Jason Tatum is a big part of it, but he's not the only guy on the team either. I mean, you've got
Right.
Jaylen Brown, you've got Marcus Smart, you've got Kemba Walker. I mean, you even have Daniel Tice and Inez Cantor. I mean, you have a ton of players that can very easily contribute. I completely agree. Nick, I want to know what you think.
Yeah, so these first few games for the Celtics have, I mean, like both you guys said, Joe and Jeff, that these first few games for the Celtics have been expected. Losing to the Bucks, tough opponent there. Winning against the Trailblazers, they're a sub-playoff team. We should, we took care of business with them, and then we lost to the Heat. And so my only concern for the Celtics is how do we square up against teams like, the Bucks, the Raptors, all the teams that are in the playoffs already that are locks, so to speak. And that's the biggest question going forward, because I don't from what I've seen so far in the bubble, I haven't seen much much fight out of the Celtics against these already locked in playoff teams.
I think that brings up a good question for you. The Celtics, like you said, they still have to play the Raptors. And like Jeff said, the Raptors are also one of those teams where they have a lot of depth.
Oh,
Which team do you believe has the biggest advantage right now based on how they're playing and who they have available right now?
Boy, that's tough, Johnny. The favorite I would say is the Bucks out of the East, but
between the Celtics and the Raptors.
What's up?
Between the Celtics and the Raptors.
Oh, okay, yeah. As a Celtics fan, I hate to say this, but I got to think NBA wise, the Raptors, like you said, Johnny, they have depth, they have talent. They could win the East this year and advance to play. I would like to see a Lakers-Raptors finals. Can the Raptors finally get over LeBron? That would be a much interesting finals to see.
I never thought of that because I was thinking potential matchups, and I'm like, Lakers Raptors. I'm like, that feels like because they're both very defense oriented. But then I saw them play, I think Saturday night. And I'm like, I guess this could definitely be the finals. And I never thought of the LeBronto curse that was over Toronto.
Yeah,
until they left for the West.
I can assure you that if the Raptors finally beat LeBron, Drake is going to go crazy up in Canada, in front of Canada.
He has every right to. This will be their second straight championship, and without Kawhi, I mean, that in itself is
Yeah.
a huge achievement.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next topic, Joe Arvison, do you have any final thoughts?
I'm just looking at the schedules ahead. The Heat play Milwaukee either tonight or tomorrow. That's a big game, and then they play like the Pacers twice, the Suns, so they have a really easy schedule working out. Where the Celtics have a little bit of a tougher one. They still have to play Toronto, so it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds.
Building off of Jeff's point that he made earlier, I mean, Celtics have a tough schedule, but I guess the best part about all these NBA teams playing right now is that everybody has a tough schedule. And the Celtics, a little bit tougher, I agree, but you know what? It's no cakewalk for any other team either. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how the Celtics do. We'll have to see how well they do against the Raptors, and then we'll have to see how well they do moving forward. And we'll see how Jason Tatum does, and we'll see if anybody else can, pick up the slack.
I know, Johnny, you're rooting for Mr. Tatum since you went to former Duke University Blue Devil there.
I hate to disagree, but you're right.
Yeah, I know.
Real separate point. Now that you brought it up, Jason Tatum, if he's not already, he's going to be a superstar in 3 years. The guy is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He already is.
Yeah, such a leader. Just, oh my gosh, I love the guy. I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him. But we got to move on to baseball. Not as the Red Sox are not doing as well as we thought, and expectations were already pretty low. They had tough series against the Yankees and the Orioles. The only really good series that they had was against the Mets. They're playing Tampa Bay tonight. They're winning, but it's also Nathan Eovaldi pitching. So my question for you guys is, why are the Sox struggling, and what can be done? Joe?
Well, you're lucky. They don't even have Eovaldi pitching. I think it's Perez. So
yeah.
they're actually winning a game without their ace in there. But they need pitching. They need help. They're throwing names out there of people that I have never even heard of. So their hitting's fine. Christian Vasquez has been on an absolute tear. JD Martinez is doing JD Martinez things. I think he's batting somewhere around 280. They just need to get Chavez going a little bit more, and their bats are fine, but they can score 7 runs a game, but when their starting pitching's giving up 8, it's not going to help them.
It's funny you mentioned that too. The Red Sox actually have one of the highest batting averages in all of baseball, but they also have one of the highest ERAs out of starting pitchers in all of baseball. Jeff, what do you think?
I totally agree. Even though we've had this offensive explosion the past few years with baseball, with home runs and runs scored and all this stuff, you still gotta have good pitching. You still gotta be able to stop it, and it's kind of like I think it transcends all sports. And it's not just the starting pitching; it's the bullpen, it's the relief pitchers, it's top to bottom. There's no way you could stop anybody. So unfortunately, they need to gut the whole thing, get everybody back healthy, or else it's going to be a long few months what's left of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the biggest part of it too. Like, we lost so many pieces in free agency, and then we lose our ace, Chris Sale, to Tommy John surgery. I mean, we lost so much already, and that's not necessarily an excuse. The Yankees were able to do well without it, but we're just not that strong of a team on the pitching aspect of it. And you're right, it goes all the way down. Nick, what do you think?
Well, Johnny, when you like posed this question to us, at the beginning of this discussion, you said the Red Sox are not looking good like we thought they were, and I would have to disagree with you on that because they are meeting my expectations when it comes to a team as a whole. I mean, I expected their pitching to be awful. I expected their batting to be great, still great, but yes, we need pitching to step up. And, it's unfortunate because, the Red Sox general manager, Chaim Bloom, has a plan to rebuild this team. So we are in rebuilding mode. And Sox fans like myself and Johnny and Jeff and Joe, I believe you are Sox. No.
I'm not really a baseball person, but I'll root for them if they're playing. But I'll definitely keep up and stuff.
So diehard Sox fans like Johnny and myself, we have to expect that. We have to realize that, this is what our reality is now. Like no more, winning championships every few years. This is like Sox fans' new reality, and we have to accept that. Sox fans. It's unfortunate, but it's what has to happen in order for us to be good down the road.
I mean, I know I said that we've lost a lot of key pieces and that it goes all the way down, but it's also that we have pitchers who just don't have the experience either. And we have to utilize Brandon Workman as our closer when he's very clearly a relief pitcher. I mean, first off, it's terrible utilization and it's inexperience. I mean, you guys saw the game with Baltimore with Ryan Weber, right? He gave up a big home run in the first inning that he pitched for the Red Sox. Nick?
No, Johnny, I get what you're saying there, but it's all part of Chaim Bloom's plan, which is like to rebuild this team. Yes, we do have inexperienced pitchers, but it's all part of the plan. And honestly, if it's the plan, so be it. I can take a few years of mediocrity and let the team grow and let the team, prosper the way Chaim Bloom wants to. You got to trust. I mean, I hate to echo Joel's statements, but trust the process,
Oh, you had to say it. We're rivals, Nick. Why would you say the thing that rivals the Celtics? Try to apply to us.
Well, in this case, it's true, but Joel Embiid just said it because it's Joel Embiid.
It's Sam Hinkie, actually, that came up with the idea of tanking forever and getting draft picks and having most of them not pan out the way they expected.
It's a logical saying, when it comes to the Red Sox right now.
Did you expect them to have the second worst?
I'd say give Chaim Bloom a chance here.
Nick, I agree with your point, but I don't agree with the words that you use. This is not mediocrity. This is garbage. They are last.
You have to trust
in
the process, though. You have to trust the process.
Nick.
Did you expect them to have the second worst record in the American League, Nick? The only team that's worse than them are the Royals right now.
All right,
the Royals were supposed to be bad.
Half a game or one game.
You'll all be laughing at me, or I'll be laughing at you guys when they won the championship in 2025 or whatever, or something like that.
You sound like a Browns fan 20 years ago. Sorry, I can't feel much.
Wow, Johnny.
I'm
just trying to make a point here, brother.
Make it away. Listen, though, we didn't mention that we weren't able to mention this last week, but new playoff formats mean that instead of 5 teams from each league going to the playoffs, they're now going to be 8 teams, which means a total of 16 teams are now going to make it to the playoffs. You guys know how I feel, but do the Red Sox have a chance of making the playoffs this year with the expanded format? Joe?
Nope, absolutely not.
I have no faith. That's a no across the board, I'm pretty sure. It's been bad.
Nope, it's not. It's I mean, when it goes back to regular playoff format, or if they keep the same playoff format a few years down the line, maybe. Let's see how the progress is. But again, trust the process.
The only thing I'm going to say to this is I'm going to keep watching them, but it's very clear how they're going to do this year. And
I got one thing to add. Nick and his trust the process thing going on over here. First off, you guys save money on not signing Mookie. You're saving money on trading away David Price. You have more than enough cap room to go out and get 2 to 3 quality starting pitchers and be right back in it. There's no process. They just need to shell out the cash, get a guy or two, and they'll be right back in the race. It's not a 5-year. Nick's got him on a 5-year plan over here, like he's buying a house.
Let me
It's like a
rebuttal
like
here.
a mortgage payment. No, just go out and sign a couple free agents.
Well,
You guys will be all set.
Joe, good point. But listen, Chaim Bloom took over Dave Dombrowski's economic mess. Okay, like Dave Dombrowski, he signed players to long-term contracts that the players didn't even produce. Like we're talking about, Porcello's contract was up. That was fortunate enough, but we still have Eovaldi, which his contract's still long, and he's producing here and there, but he's not up to expectations. Then
we're still paying Rusney Castillo. I think we just finished paying Paulo Sandoval. I do agree with you there, Nick.
Yeah,
but it's poor management. That's what that is. It's inability to utilize their talent, and it's inability to grow their talents. They gave away way too much. They got nothing back. Their farm system is kaput. I mean, you saw these guys play. They're inexperienced and
build the farm
very
system.
obvious.
Yeah, you have to build the farm system over time. Like Rome wasn't built in a day.
Nick, who do we have in our farm system? Name one guy who's promising who we have in our farm system.
Nobody, but it's over time. It's over time.
That's my point, Nick. One draft is not going to build an entire farm system. It takes years and years and years.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I said
you're saying that they're going to be a World Series championship team in 5 years? I don't think so. I think unless they decide to go and spend that money that they're wasting on these guys on free agents, on actual good free agents, on good pitching, the Red Sox are not making the World Series. I would be surprised if they made the playoffs within the next 2 or 3 years.
That was just an estimate, Johnny. I didn't mean to say 5 years.
I don't know. He sounded pretty confident when he said it, though. I will say they probably will be somewhat decent considering they played in the same division as the Orioles and the Blue Jays for the future, and I don't know how long their futures are going to be potentially.
And the Blue Jays are looking good for the next couple of years.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Nothing with the Orioles.
Let's move on. No.
By the way, one question.
You mentioned the Mariners 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We're going to stick on this topic for a couple more minutes. Jeff,
Just soak it in.
Continue.
Question. Are the Sox still playing Carl Crawford from the Rays?
Oh, God.
Is that done with?
I think they're paying him
bad memories.
Annuities. Yeah, I think they're still paying him.
Still some bad memories from that contract signing?
Yeah.
Okay.
But even with all these bad contracts, they've still won championships. So you can't blame paying Rusney Castillo $60 million on not being able to sign a starting pitcher and win a championship.
Because they signed good free agents. They spent a ton of money, but they signed good free agents.
Yeah.
Like Rick Porcello and Craig Kimbrell and Chris Sale, who's unfortunately injured right now. He's still on the team, but, I mean, still. And that's just pitching. And then they developed their farm system. Mookie Betts, they drafted in the 5th round. Yeah. And then they let him develop into one of the best players in all of baseball. You know? So, I don't know. I just think the Red Sox have made too many poor choices that are now starting to affect them long term. And that they let all of their good players go. You know?
I think one one of the Red Sox biggest problems is growing starting pitching. Like back when Mookie Betts was a prospect coming up, I used to go see him play for the Sea Dogs. He was like the number 7 prospect in the whole organization at the time. Their number 1 prospect was Henry Owens. And that guy never became a starter in Boston, only worked out of the bullpen, and only lasted a year or two. I think they need to hire people down below to develop better pitching because they don't even have anybody right now that's worth a gamble bringing up.
Yeah. And the guys they drafted in the first round in the past 2 or 3 years, I mean, none of them are going to be making an MLB roster anytime soon.
Nope.
It's poor management. But that's just me. We got to move on to our final topic, the Boston Bruins. So the Boston Bruins had the best record in the NHL. You guys already know this before COVID hit. Since then, they've started playing the round robin, and they've lost both of their games. My question for you guys is: are they in danger of dropping their seed, which was projected to be 1? And are the Bruins in danger overall? Joe, what do you think?
They're definitely in danger of dropping that 1 seed. Even with the 2 losses, I don't think they're going to be the number 1 seed with Tampa having 2 wins now. And their next game's against Washington, and I honestly don't see them beating Washington as much as I hate to say that. So they could definitely fall. They're definitely going to fall in the seedings in my eyes. I think they'll be all right, though. Tuukka did not play in the first game. He came back tonight, played, looked pretty good, gave up a rebound with like a minute and a half left in the game against Tampa Bay tonight. That cost him the game, but he looked solid. The team's starting to click a little more. I think come playoff time, come a series, they'll be ready to go.
Yeah, but they have to also get a very good matchup in these first couple of rounds first.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into that far, but Jeff was saying earlier, probably going to be Pittsburgh. If it's Pittsburgh, that's a tough team. Sidney Crosby,
exactly
Malkin. So I think our top 6, the Bruins' top 6, compares with the Penguins' top 6. It's those bottom 6 that the Penguins, I think, would have an advantage in. But I would take Tuukka over Matt Murray for goalies.
Yeah. And, I hate to say it, though, like the point that you just made was that there's a lot of teams in the NHL right now that the Bruins can't beat. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen if they brought back this round robin tournament sort of thing. I mean, The Bruins are clearly one of the best teams in the NHL, but they're just the way they're playing right now does not scream that they're going to be taken seriously at all. And they're not. They're going to drop, and then they're going to have to play a tough opponent like the Penguins in round 1. And then they're going to be worn out from having to play the Penguins, and by round 2, they're done. I mean, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Jeff, what do you think?
I mean, there is some concern. I could see some concern, but at the same time, it's the round robin. And something I've noticed with these round robin games is not just with the Bruins, but across the entire NHL, is the intensity isn't nearly at the level of the qualifying rounds, because the qualifying rounds, they're like mini playoff series. So they're flying around, everything on the line. But I think if the Bruins hit the gas too much in these qualifying rounds, so during training camp, one of the problems I think that's kind of slowing the team down is they had a bunch of people get hurt. Like Pasternak missed most of training camp. Tuukka Rask missed most of training camp. Andre Kosh missed most of it, and I think he's still now 100%. I don't think he played in today's game. I'm not entirely sure, though. But missing all these pieces, kind of moving around, it's tough to get used to after so long away. But Philly's coming back healthy. Tampa's coming in healthy. Washington's coming in healthy. And they were all really great teams beforehand. So we were talking before the show. I said the Bruins are going to be the first team to win the President's Trophy for having the best record in the league and somehow not get the 1 seed, which is kind of wild to think about. And we're potential opponents, the Pittsburgh's the 5 seed. And if they beat Montreal, Penguins, Bruins round 1 would be a fantastic series, but I think it could go the distance, and it definitely will get you battle tested for the rest of the playoffs. But even if the Penguins don't make it, they would play the Hurricanes, who spanked the Rangers in their series, and they already qualified for the next round, or the actual Stanley Cup playoffs. So I think, but the Bruins last year played the Hurricanes in the conference finals and swept them. So, I mean, I guess there is a little concern, a little bit of worry, but I wouldn't be panicking like, oh my God, we're going to be done. This is going to be – because like the best part of playoff hockey is anything can happen. Literally anything can happen. The Lightning set all these records last year, most wins this season, all these individual award winners, and they got smoked by the Blue Jackets in a playoff series. They got swept by a team that never won a playoff series. Nobody saw that coming. It's probably the biggest upset in NHL history, at least in my opinion. So if that can happen, then I wouldn't be too freaked out over signs of what's to come and what's going on in the future. And I'm just excited that, like all of you, that hockey's back across the board.
You know, it's so funny that you mentioned injuries. It's something I haven't even considered either. And I am going to disagree with you a little bit in saying you're right. It's not as important now that the Bruins are basically guaranteed the playoffs. But like I said earlier to Joe, there's a big difference between being a 4 seed and being a 1 seed. You know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you're right. I think injuries do play a part of that, but it's also about these guys who are playing right now. They have to step up and show them that if Pasternak's not ready, then are these guys going to step up, you know, when it really matters? So I guess that's just my 2 cents. But you bring up a good point, Jeff. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, so Johnny, you said earlier that you know, this is exactly what you expect would happen. Well, I'm in the same boat as you on that. Like, you know, so when the NHL came out with these rules back in, you know, before back during this when this pandemic happened, you know, I thought to myself, well, I think the Bruins, out of the 4 teams that are playing round robin, I think they're going to get screwed out of this because, you know, all the pressure's going to be on them to try to hold down their 1 seed. And look what happened. They just folded under the pressure. So, but then like Jeff said, anything could happen in the playoffs. Anything could happen. I like saying the phrase, one slight misdirection of the puck could change an outcome of a game, could change the outcome of a series, and so on and so forth. So I don't think the Bruins are in trouble yet. We'll see how they do come, you know, the first real round of the quarterfinals of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So
next week.
Which is next week, yeah.
That's when they start.
Well, Nick, I'm happy that you and I – oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I said it's kind of like what I said before with the NBA, where it's these anything can happen moments. It's like professional March Madness, but now it's with hockey.
Yeah.
It's an awesome feeling as a sports fan.
Yep.
Oh, you guys all bring up a lot of good points, and you're absolutely right. Anything can happen. Nick, I just want to say I'm happy that you and I are on the same point on this one a little bit. So it's nice to be on that same page. Well, we're not going to be on the same page for what's coming up next, but before that, I want to go ahead and move into any viewer comments. Nick, do we have any viewer comments?
We have no viewer comments at all. This is sad.
Well, if you're watching this, please be sure to comment we'll give you a shout out on the show. We might even answer your question if you have any. So please comment, and thank you very much for watching. With that said, I think we're going to go ahead and move into our brackets. We have some interesting matchups this week. We have Jeff going against Mr. Joe Arvison, and you guys are going to be talking about football. So,
All right.
because you were here last week, Jeff, I'm going to let you choose who goes first.
Okay. I'll let Joe go first and
Okay.
see kind of what he has to say about the topic and see what he has to say.
Okay. My question for you guys is Jamal Adams a good fit for Seattle? Joe Arvison, you have 1 minute.
Absolutely yes. Seattle has been a defensive team from day one of them with this whole rebuild with Russell Wilson way back 10 years ago. I think Jamal Adams is a good fill-in. They're probably going to lose Quentin Dunbar, who's their number 2 corner for the year because of this armed robbery case. I think a guy like Jamal Adams, he comes in, he's the Richard Sherman of the team now. He's loud, he's getting in your face, and that's when that defense was at their peak, was when Richard Sherman was leading them. They're not going to be the complete Legion of Boom that they were, but Jamal Adams brings that edge to that team. He'll bring that trash talk, and he's going to have some tough matchups in that division now. San Fran, Arizona, those teams have some good wide receivers down there. So,
All right.
but
Thank you very much, Joe. Jeff, whenever you're ready.
All right. So I do say I have to agree with Joe on he's not only just a good fit, he's a fantastic fit for the Seahawks. And before that trade acquisition, I was thinking about potential teams like Super Bowl predictions, like who would come out of the NFC because it's so loaded. And I thought Seattle was right in the mix with everybody, kind of with the 49ers, the Saints, the Packers. And I'm like, they just need one more thing. Maybe they could put over the top to be really at that level. And I think Jamal Adams is it. He is the total X factor on defense. You can put him anywhere. He can cover. He can hit hard. And the Seahawks, people said on paper that they gave up too much. The Jets stole the trade. They won the whole thing. But I think the Seahawks were fine with it because if you look at their defense, they don't really use high draft picks for anyone really in their team, not just the defense. A lot of their star players were late-round picks. Russell Wilson was a third-round pick. Richard Sherman was a fifth-round pick. Cam Chancellor was a fifth-round pick. And
Jeff,
the 2013 Seahawks.
I hate to cut you off there, but we've reached our minute mark.
Oh. Can I just have one more fact, though?
You're on a roll. I didn't want to stop you.
Fun fact, though, the 2013 Seahawks only had one first-rounder on their entire starting defense, and it was Earl Thomas. That's all I was going to say, and that was it.
Oh, he's not doing too well right now, but that's beside the point. Nick?
Wow.
Why don't you go ahead and give the grades?
Great start to the bracket round, gentlemen. Great start. This is a tough vote, but can I give Johnny? Can I give both of them like 4s on this one? Like, holy
You can
moly,
give him whatever you want.
guys! I can't even pick. Yeah, like that's. I would say both of you get a 4s in my book. I mean, my goodness. Great job, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I agree. I think you both did a really great job. There was a comment that one of you made that unfortunately is going to bump you down from a 5 to a 4. I was going to give you both a 5, but Joe?
Yeah, I felt like it was me.
Yeah, listen, you mentioned that just Jamal Adams is a big personality. He is, but the guy was really disgruntled in New York, right? Like he wasn't really being utilized. He was clearly a leader on a team that is so bad, and that's really tough to play around. I really liked how you wrapped up that point right there. I feel like it could have been emphasized just a little bit better, or at least worded a little bit better. So I'm gonna knock you down from 5 to a 4. Jeff, I'm gonna give you a 5. Congratulations, Jeff. You're moving on to the championship round. Joe,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you're moving on to the third place game.
That's all right.
It's not personal.
All right, Johnny, me and you, man.
All right. So Nick and I actually had a question from last week that we were going to debate. We're actually going to debate this exact same question. We were watching a game. The Washington Nationals played the New York Yankees. And during that game, later on in the innings, there was a steal attempt. I'm going to show you all the video, and then we're going to debate it based on what we see.
Can you share your screen, Johnny?
I cannot. Could you enable screen sharing, please?
I'm gonna try to do that real quick.
So
Yeah, Nick, sharing is
while
caring.
he's doing that, make sure you watch the video very, very carefully, right? Because this video is not only for you guys, Jeff and Joe, but for the viewers as well.
Try it, Johnny. Can you do it?
Okay. Perfect. So this happened on July 26, 2020, in the bottom of the 9th inning with no outs. So very, very late in the game. Really important play right here. So for those of you who were watching at home, what happened was this guy tried to steal third. He made it to the base, but unfortunately he overran it and was picked off. So the question for the week is, should this count as a steal or should it count as caught stealing? You see, what I want to do is break this down a little bit for my minute, and I'm going to go ahead and start the clock right now. So if you watch this play very carefully, you can see right there, he actually does make it to the bag. And now the definition of a steal is a player is able to make it to the bag successfully, right? He's able to make it to the bag successfully in between pitches, right? And that's exactly what he does here. If you watch, it's very hard to see, but if you watch closely, he does make it to the bag successfully. Now, the problem here is that he's not called safe. But I still think he should have been called safe at this point because he does make it to the actual bag. The problem is that right here, he jumps off the bag, which is why I believe that this should be constituted as a steal and then a tag out. Okay? So, yes, I do believe that this is a steal. Nick,
Okay,
whenever you're
Johnny.
ready.
Okay, Johnny. Well, so you're gonna say you get constituted as a steal, right?
Yes.
So I'm actually going to agree with you on this one. I'm gonna show you why.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you why.
All right, I'm going to pause it while you're pulling up the video.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
So I
In fact,
actually
I'll restart your time.
have the textbook definition of caught stealing. And as you can see, it's highlighted in yellow. So I'll go over real quick. A caught stealing occurs when a runner attempts to steal, but is tagged out before reaching second base, third base, or home plate. This is the wording that you don't want you to pay attention. This typically happens after a pitch when a catcher throws the ball to the fielder at the base before the runner reaches it. So I think it's really caught stealing right there. It says it from Major League Baseball's website. So it's right there. I mean, it can also happen before pitch, but the batter already has to be leaving the base in order to steal the base. So,
All right, Nick.
that's my takeaway from that. So,
All right. Jeff, you want to go ahead and start with the voting?
I mean, you both did pretty solid. Nick, we were talking before on how you would try to win more of these bracket challenges between all of us. And one of the things you said is you got to do your research. You got to look into what you're doing and you did, which is great. Johnny, though, I think did really well too because he also did some research by actually showing the play and broke it down like frame by frame what had happened. So I'll give you both. I'll give you both 4s. How about that? Kind of like how you did with us, Nick. So 4-4.
Mr. Arvison?
All right. I like both of your points. I don't think it was caught stealing. I think it's a pickoff because he gets the steal when he hits the base. He overruns it. It's like somebody getting picked off at first by the catcher and they're just not paying attention. But I think Johnny made just a little bit of a better point. Nick, fantastic research this week. At the end, you fumbled it for me. You Mark Sanchez, you butt fumbled it.
ouch.
But
It's okay.
Yeah, that hurts.
Anyway.
Johnny,
You know
I'm going
what?
to give you a 4. Nick, 3.
You know what, Nick? You know what? I want to mention one point right here. Nick, thank you for doing the research. I'm proud of you, and you did really, really well. It was an honor to be able to debate against you there. So thank you for that.
Well, let's see how we do in the third place game, which that should be a barn burner between Joe Arvison and I. So
Funny you
and
mentioned
Nick,
that. Let's go ahead and move on to the third place game between Joe Arvison and Nick Odell. So honestly, I hate to do this again to you, Joe. Nick, because you did so well
yeah,
for this debate, I'm gonna let you choose first. Do you want to go first or second?
I'm gonna go first.
Okay. Your question is, what is the best PlayStation 1 game of all time?
Oh, that's a good one.
So
Man.
I gotta be honest with all three of you. I have never owned a PlayStation 1.
Nick, did you not have a childhood? What the heck?
I mean, the family didn't have enough money, so we had to settle on a GameCube. But here's the thing, though. Last week I was playing over at a friend's house. Actually, a few days ago, I should say. And I played this classic game. It was such a classic game called Frogger. And Frogger.
Oh my God.
Frogger, I was very intrigued by the game. And how I was intrigued was that, it's such a simple concept thrown into a game like that. And it's so you're on your edge of the seat, you're trying to get go through obstacles and everything. But yeah, Frogger, such a simple concept, so thrown into a game, and I think I would have to choose Frogger.
That's a good choice,
all right,
Nick.
Mr. Joe Arvison, whenever you're ready.
all right. I'm not going to go with Frogger. I think that might be an Atari game. But other than that, I was a big sports guy back then, playing the Madden 98s and NHL. But the best game of all time is Spyro the Dragon. I enjoyed playing Spyro, just being a dragon, living in that fantasy world, freeing all the other dragons. I don't honestly remember the whole entire storyline. It was a really long time ago, and I've had way too many concussions to remember back then. But I just remember spending hours running around as a dragon, breathing fire on enemies, saving dragons, hatching eggs, all that fun stuff. Spyro the Dragon was definitely a game that me and my buddies would play for hours at a time and have a great time with.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Arvison. Jeff, I'm going to let you go first with the voting. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, funny you mentioned it. I remember both of those games quite well from back in the day. And while we're in my room, I'm filming from my room, I have my old PS2 with a folder full of old PlayStation 1 and 2 games from back in the day. One of those, or if you can find the other, I found my original case from Frogger on the PS1. And I'm trying to find the Spyro one right now, but I'm having a rough time. I found the second and third ones, and I remember liking both a lot. But I do have to give the edge to Joe because Spyro 2 is my pick for the best PS1 game ever made. But I got to keep it in the franchise, though. By the way, Joe, you should play the Spyro Reignited trilogy because they are fantastic remakes of the original trilogy of games that came out for the original PlayStation.
I heard I haven't had a gaming console since an Xbox 360, so the gaming
Get on
life
your
is over
PC
for me.
or laptop, or get a Switch. Worthy investment.
Oh, so Jeff, what's your vote again?
I'm going with Joe because he brought up Spyro, which is
What's the
my
score?
personal favorite. Spyro 2 for the PS1.
Yeah, what's the score?
Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage.
Jeff?
Jeff, what's your score?
Oh, I meant to do scoring. Joe a 5, Nick a 4, but they're both great games from my childhood.
We have got some really, really good debates this week. I love these debates. Nick, I'm going to be honest. I was fully ready to give it to you. So, audience, if you're watching, the person whose house he was playing at was mine. I just bought a PlayStation 1 with my sister. I was playing. Frogger was already in there. Nick was already playing Frogger. I was hoping he would mention it, and he did. But Joe made such a good point about Spyro.
Classic game.
You know what? Even with that said, yeah, I mean, honestly, I have Spyro on my PS4 too. I have the entire Reignited trilogy. I've got the original, Ripto's Rage, and Year of the Dragon. But I'm going to stick to my original convictions. And Nick, purely because you mentioned Frogger, even though you didn't own a PlayStation, I'm going to give you a 5. Joe Arvison, I'm giving you a 4.
Oh, tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker.
It all comes down to this. This is going to be as fair as possible. Okay?
I like this.
Now, for this one, each of you get 30 seconds to make your point. All right? Nick, do you want to go first or second again?
I'll go second this time.
Okay. Joe Arvison, your question is, which combination of fluff, bananas, jelly, and peanut butter makes the best sandwich? Go.
You got to go with the classic peanut butter and jelly. Now, it depends on the peanut butter. It depends on the jelly. There's so many different flavors. You didn't go into it. So actually, I got to change my answer because you didn't go into that detail. I'm going to go peanut butter and fluff. I don't know what kind of jam, jelly. Is it crunchy peanut butter? Is it smooth peanut butter? That all makes a difference for the banana sandwich, for the jelly sandwich. So peanut butter and fluff all the way.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Arvison. Nick, whenever you're ready.
Interesting there, Mr. Arvison, but I would also have to go with peanut butter and fluff. But like for the sole purpose that like I actually eat so when peanut butter and fluff is only offered to me, just only offered at a party or something. I would actually eat the peanut butter and fluff, but I'll also eat just peanut butter sandwich too, like if I had options. So, but I'm willing to try banana too.
All right, Mr. Jeff Leclerc.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I want to know what party Nick's going to that they're only offering peanut butter and fluff sandwiches.
All right, I should correct myself.
I was wondering the same.
Party or something.
What?
Nick, be sure to come on over. We got peanut butter and fluff on.
Yeah.
Nick, the next party I'm throwing, I'm definitely making peanut butter and fluff for everybody.
Listen, I'm a generic gathering. Like, I don't know, like.
Oh, that's not what you said, Nick.
What generic gathering with a peanut butter and fluff, Nick?
Nick's getting the first.
Listen.
Nick's getting the first whack at the piñata for sure at that party.
Yep.
I'm not going to use that against you, Nick, but he does bring up a valid point. And to make it fair, I'm also not going to use your banana comment in favor of you. All right? Because that was after the 30 seconds. But Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what gatherings would ever have peanut butter and fluff, but Joe had at least arguments for what would work and like how it would benefit him. So I'll go, even though we kind of flip flopped a little bit, I'm going 3-2, Joe.
All right, Nick.
3-2.
Nick.
3-2.
All right.
I told you I would not use the gathering against you, and I'm not going to. Frankly, I'm going to tell you both this. The answer I was looking for was peanut butter and banana. All right? It's healthy, and it's delicious. Peanut butter and fluff wasn't really my go-to as a kid. Mine was peanut butter and jelly. But Joe Arvison, you flip-flopped. Nick stuck to his convictions, which I really respect. All right? So, Nick, I'm going to give you a 4. Joe Arvison, I'm giving you a 1.
Oh, so Nick finishes in 3rd place.
Rough.
Nick,
All
you
right.
fought really well
Nick's
in
the
every
4.
single debate this week. I could not let you lose.
All right.
And also because
True.
Joe Arvison flipped. Sorry, Joe.
What kind of jelly are we having though? There's
The
too many
best
jellies.
kind. If it's like any kind of hypothetical thing, you pick the best type of peanut butter, the best type
That's
of
what I was
jelly, the
hoping
best
you
type
guys
of
would
bananas. That's how you
Say
do
it's
it.
like, okay, you're going to say, okay, smooth peanut butter with strawberry jelly or smooth peanut butter with grape jelly, you know? Just like you got to be a little be a little specific, you know?
All right.
I was looking
Joe,
for
any final words?
creativity there.
Just thanks again for having me, guys. It's been a blast. I said it last time. I'll say it again. UFC's in like 2 weeks. Watch it. Gonna be a awesome main event.
All right, Joe. Hang tight till the end of the show. You're just gonna be muted, okay? All right.
With that said, we'd still like to thank you very much for coming on the show, Joe.
Yeah.
However, it's time for us to go ahead and move to the championship round between Jeff and myself. You ready, Jeff?
I mean, I can announce
Yeah.
the question too.
Sure. Go ahead. I'll
Okay.
let Jeff decide if he wants to go first or second, though.
All right. So the
John, you can go
championship.
first. So
You want me to go
since I'm
first?
the defending champ. You can go first.
Okay.
All
Fair
right, so
enough.
guys. Here is your question: will Antonio Brown return to the NFL after being suspended 8 games?
So, first off, I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. I do not think he's going to return to the NFL. You know, I think Antonio Brown is a great talent. I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the entire world. But the problem is that he's done – I mean, he showed a little bit of maturity with the appeal, but overall, I mean, he's shown no maturity whatsoever. And he's shown that he cannot be on a team and be a healthy contributor on a team. And I think this 8-game suspension is a huge deterrent for a lot of teams, right? A wide receiver is one of the most stacked positions in the entire NFL. there aren't a whole lot of teams that are, even with the Antonio Brown's talents, that are screaming, I need a wide receiver who's not going to contribute positively to the clubhouse. So I don't think he's going to play in the NFL ever again. If not, if he does, it will be in a very, very long time. All right.
All right. Mr. Jeff Leclerc, whenever you're ready.
I do have to agree. I don't think he'll be coming back to the NFL anytime soon. Because if you look back, it goes all the way back to last year when he was on the Raiders camp and he was causing all sorts of issues with the helmet. And I don't get along with Mike Mayock or John Gruden. Now we're good again, now we're not. And then they just cut him right before the season when the Raiders had all these injuries at receiver. So he kind of burned those bridges. Then with the Patriots after one game, then he had some scandals off the field. That cut him loose. And I think it's just a matter of time before he burns every bridge possible in the NFL because who's going to sign him? Who's going to take that risk? It's not worth it, especially with everything that's going on. People, and like Johnny said, wide receiver is such a deep position. It's like we don't need him. We got it. We can figure it out. And it's too much of a risk, especially with the suspension. You're only getting him for, 8 regular season games? If that, depending on injuries too. Because who the heck knows what's going to happen even with the season and how much he's going to gel with other people and how much he's going to fight with management and how many other off-season issues are going to keep piling up for him.
Jeff,
So
I
think there's just too
hate to
many
be
big red
a
flags
little
on him.
biased, but I got to cut you off at your point. It was a good one, though.
Mhm.
But it was over a minute, so.
Yeah, I was like just finishing up right when you started saying it.
Okay.
So I tried to get like right on the dot.
I didn't want to stop you. You keep making really good points, but.
Yeah, really,
Sorry to be
really,
fair.
really good points, not only from Jeff, but to you, Johnny, as well. Excellent points. We're going to go ahead and start the voting with Joe Arvison. Joe, show of hands. What's Jeff's, or actually, we'll start with Johnny's score. Johnny.
Like a number, 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
Okay.
Johnny gets a 4. Okay. And how about for Mr. Jeff Leclerc, one of our esteemed guests?
Wow.
What? Man, that's
Wow.
harsh.
All
That
right.
is slight, but it all comes down to my voting at least. So both of you guys made excellent Points. Again, this is tough to decipher. This is really tough. And it's, I don't.
Nick, you know what to do. Do it.
Hey,
Do
don't
it.
listen to him.
I'd have to go reverse
you-
what Joe Arvison
what you-
said and give Jeff a 4,
Oh.
Johnny a 3.
Oh,
Tiebreaker.
man.
Let's get it.
Ah,
Drive under pressure.
Nick,
What?
you had the key.
Yeah.
You threw it in the sewer.
All right, so the other tiebreaker question. You guys each get 30 seconds. Johnny will keep count.
All right, let me set the clock since.
So who's going to go first? Jeff, I want you to choose who goes first.
I've been going second the whole time, but this time I'll take the reins. I'll go first.
Okay. Guys, here is your tiebreaker question. Chocolate or rainbow sprinkles? Go ahead, Jeff, whenever you're ready.
So I'm a sucker for chocolate, so I always go with that. Like, I love chocolate ice cream bars, anything you can find, I'll do it. And sprinkles are just the same thing. And you want to get, even if you have chocolate ice cream, you add chocolate sprinkles to it. It's just an overload. It's fantastic for you, especially with ice cream, because you don't do it to eat healthy. You eat it because it tastes great, and it's such an overload of sugar. It's really awesome. So I'm going chocolate all the way.
All right.
All right, Johnny, you have the floor whenever you're ready.
My choice is clear. It's rainbows for two specific reasons. Reason number one, rainbow goes with everything. Chocolate does not go with every single ice cream flavor. Okay? Rainbow goes with every single one. Number two, there's actually a little bit of chocolate in the rainbow sprinkles. So it's literally you get a little part of the other one, and so much more that you can do with this. I'm going with rainbow.
But you don't get the full experience with chocolate. You get the full experience,
Hey,
and when
you
it
made
works,
your-
it's
you
amazing.
made your point, Jeff.
All right, all right.
All right.
Made your-
Making sure.
Bell. Ding, 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 rings the bell.
Oh,
Ooh, this was a heavyweight bout, I should say. Joe Arvison, show of hands, what would you give our one of our esteemed guests, Jeff Leclerc, a score of?
Johnny got 2.
So Jeff, no wait, Jeff got
Johnny.
it right
Jeff got it too.
I did. Wow.
because you said chocolate. Johnny gets a 5.
Let's go.
Wow.
Nick.
And that hurt. That really hurt.
You know.
Well, you know.
Well, I prefer chocolate over rainbow sprinkles.
Oh.
So I have to wholeheartedly agree with Jeff.
Oh,
Thank you,
Wholeheartedly
Nick.
agree with Jeff. Jeff, I'm giving you a perfect 5. Johnny, a 1.
what? What? There's chocolate
Back
in the
to back.
rainbow. Oh.
Champion right
Oh.
here with the comeback.
I'm
Let's
calling
go.
shenanigans.
Joe
Wow.
Armstrong fell off his bed. Look at that.
Wow.
Comeback.
Wow. Well, congratulations,
W.
Jeff.
Jeff Leclerc.
Thank you
Once
very
again,
much.
you have
Champion
won.
already.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Nick.
Even though it was not on the best of terms,
A win's a win, though.
it's well deserved.
Thank you. Hey,
With
we
that-
was a great battle, though. I am jealous of the not getting the PlayStation question, though. I was hyped for it.
Well, if you want to give us a minute if you want to give us your favorite PlayStation game really quickly before we go into final thoughts, go right ahead.
I mean, Spyro 2 was one that I always played, so kind of mentioned that. Got Crash Bandicoot. I'm just going like greatest hits off the top of my head. Crash Bandicoot, the whole trilogy is great. I remember I had Rugrats Search for Reptar when I was a kid. That was a lot of fun to play, especially because it was like the show. Metal Gear Solid, people love. Ape Escape's fantastic. And it's why somebody's a juggernaut in the video game world all these years later.
I have Ape Escape, and I never really got that game. I never.
Why? Because you have to use joysticks for everything?
Yeah. I
That's
always
great.
got
That's what made
hit.
it so innovative.
I never even made it past the first level. I've only caught one monkey the entire time I played it.
But, no, you gotta go back into it. It's fun. Definitely
Okay.
give it another shot.
All right. All right. Well, I'll get back into it, but before I do, let's go ahead and move into our trivia answer. Nick, whenever you're ready.
And once again, I'm not muted at the end, so I could actually give the trivia answer. You guys ready for this?
Yes.
All right. So, to remind the viewers once again, on this day in 1921, the first baseball game ever broadcast on radio happened. Which two teams were featured in this game? Was it A, the Red Sox and the Yankees, B, the Cardinals and the Cubs, C, the Phillies and the Pirates, or D, the Mets and the Braves? I believe, Johnny, you guessed Sox Yankees, right?
No, I did not.
Or you guessed the Cards Cubs, right?
Yep.
Jeff, you guessed the Phillies and the Pirates, right? You guessed C.
See,
Okay.
yeah.
And Joe Arvison, you guessed also the Cardinals and the Cubs. Well, you can scratch out D because the Mets weren't even a team back in 1921. The Boston Braves were, but the Mets weren't. But the correct answer for this week, Jeff, you got it right. It was C, Phillies and Pirates.
Ooh.
I am unstoppable today.
Wow. Didn't he get the trivia question right the last time he was on too?
I think so.
Oh my!
I'm not
God.
sure. I think it was an old baseball question though, but I just remember guessing. So
Well,
who knows?
You guys are unstoppable.
congratulations on getting the trivia question right and winning the bracket round. And fun fact about that game, the game was carried on the Pittsburgh radio station KDKA. So.
That I didn't know.
Wow.
All right. Well,
Congratulations, Jeff. You are truly unstoppable. Nick, thank you very much for the trivia question. If you got it home and right, if you got it right at home, congratulations. And if you didn't, congratulations anyways, because we're just about reaching the end of our show. With that said, Jeff, you get to choose the order for final thoughts, and you get to go the longest.
All right. So we all talked about the best PlayStation games, and I'm still kind of thinking on that. But on the other side of the console wars, the console that I had growing up, I was very fortunate to have both a PlayStation 1 and a Nintendo 64. I still have my Nintendo 64. So I kind of want to ask everyone here what their favorite Nintendo 64 game is ever, even if you didn't own one, maybe you played at a friend's house or you played on a virtual console eventually. So what is your favorite game that you ever played for the N64? Great console.
I'll go ahead and go first. I know Joe's not going to go first.
he's muted.
I'm going to go ahead and say, I'll probably say Mario Kart 64.
Okay.
Yeah.
Classic.
Jeff, is it bad that I never owned an N64 either?
Okay, Nick, come on, man. You gotta
Listen,
go to eBay or something and buy one. Seriously, relive those years.
First few years I was able to play video games was a PC guy, and then I entered in GameCube.
I know, but you gotta get go on eBay and get those games.
All right.
Or at least virtual console or emulator.
Hey, I'm sorry you didn't have a childhood growing up, guys.
It's okay. So you never even in the Westfield days crash someone's dorm and like, hey, you got a Nintendo 64, let's play some Mario Party or something. You never did one of those?
Yeah, so basically I would have to agree with Johnny there and say Mario Kart 64 because I played those a bunch of times. When somebody had an N64. It was tough because it's different than the GameCube. A little bit different than the GameCube, but I was able to get by in some games.
Pulling off that giant Rainbow Road shortcut off the end there.
Oh my God.
Right when you start from the game.
And the graphics.
I did that.
Graphics are classic.
Yeah, they definitely aged a lot better than most N64 games have at the time.
Yeah.
But there's so many good ones. So you got Mario 64, you have The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Super Smash Brothers, the original Mario Party trilogy. But there's one game I want to go with made by Rareware who originally made the Donkey Kong games from the 90s called Banjo-Kazooie.
Ooh,
and
I forgot about Banjo.
That is a certified classic, probably my top 10 favorite video games of all time. He is my main in Smash Brothers Ultimate right now. I freaked when they announced him after so many years of never hearing about their name. And this is how big a fan I am of the series. So it has great characters, great levels, a lot of collectibles, great final boss fight and worlds and everything, and great music composed by Grant Kirkhope. And I'm such a big fan of the music. It's so essential to the game that, one second.
Banjo-Kazooie was definitely one of those games that was really, really tough, but that's also part of what made it so good.
Look at that.
It was just amazing. I love Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, I own this on vinyl.
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, also made by
007.
Rareware. Great game. I don't know if it's aged super well, but I own the Banjo-Kazooie soundtrack that came out last fall on vinyl, and it sounds just as fantastic now as it did in 1998.
Oh, that's
so that's probably my pick. Also, shout out to Star Fox 64 and the many Mario Party nights, especially Mario Party 2, that my friends and I from high school, we'd all play. One summer, we just play every single night or every single week and just get into all sorts of shenanigans and insane things that we could never do again. But it was a lot of memories with that console.
All right.
Well,
who goes next, Jeff, in the final thought?
I'll go Johnny, then Nick, because it goes first, second, third.
Okay. Well, my final thought is simple. I just want to wish a very special congratulations to Mike Drew and his fiancee Erica on getting engaged. Very,
Friend of the show,
very
Mike
wonderful.
Drew.
Congratulations
Shout out.
to you both. I wish you both many, many years of happiness. Hope to get Mike Drew on the show at some point. But in the meantime, congratulations on getting engaged. I'm very happy for you two.
Yeah, I also want to say congrats to Mike Drew. He's been a broadcast partner of mine at Lessio State throughout my collegiate days, and I just also want to send him my sincere congratulations to him and his fiancee Erica on the engagement. I wish you many years of happiness, health, and good fortune. Now, my other final thought is this, real quick. I lost it.
If it's about the Mariners, so help me, Nick.
I was just going to say.
Is it about what? The Mariners? No.
If it's about the Mariners, so help me.
No. I had a thought.
I was just going to say.
I got it.
Oh my
So
God.
the Lessio Starfires were recently on Nesson, and so kudos to them for being on a regional sports network, and West Side High alum Nick Dumkowski pitched, and apparently he pitched pretty well, right, Joe? Can you give me a nod? Yeah. It's from what I heard. So kudos to the Starfires and Nick Dumkowski for performing really well on regional television, on a regional sports network like Nesson. There's my final thought. I remembered.
All right. Well, with that said, I think that's going to do it for our show today. We'd like to thank you all very much for watching. We'd like to thank you very much for contributing. Be sure to like our page and be sure to catch our videos. Next week, we're going to have another video as well. Maybe the same guys and maybe different guys. We'll just have to see how it goes. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank you all for watching this one. From Joe Arvison, Jeff Leclerc, and Nick Odell, my name is Johnny Redmond. Once again, thank you so much. Have a fantastic night. Enjoy watching the Red Sox and enjoy watching the Celtics and the Bruins. Enjoy watching training camp. And in the meantime, keep watching sports. Thank you.